The waiter's voice cut through the Christmas music like a knife. "Ma'am, before I place this down, the total is $18,750. My daughter's laughter hadn't even finished echoing when she turned to me, designer handbag already on her shoulder. "Mom will handle it," she said, waving her hand dismissively. She always does. But what Raquel didn't know, what she'd never bothered to ask, was that the frail, financially struggling mother she thought she'd been helping for 5 years had just used a card that only 300 people in America possess. My name is Sylvia Hartwell. I'm 68 years old, and this is the story of how I let my daughter believe I was poor until the night she pushed too far. The leather chair in Attorney Bennett's office was the expensive kind, the kind that doesn't squeak when you shift your weight. I'd been sitting in it for 40 minutes, signing papers that most people would never see in their lifetime. "Mrs. Hartwell," Bennett said, sliding another document across his mahogany desk. "I have to say your decision to maintain such a modest lifestyle is unusual. With assets totaling $47 million, you could— I'm living exactly as I want to, Mr. Bennett." I kept my voice gentle but firm. I'd learned that tone during 30 years of marriage to Richard when we'd built his tech company from our garage into something worth selling to a Fortune 500. Bennett cleared his throat. He was young, maybe 40, with the kind of ambitious energy that made him check his watch every few minutes. "Of course, I'm just ensuring you understand the full scope of what you're managing. The investment portfolio alone generates approximately $180,000 monthly in passive income. Then there's the real estate holdings in Virginia, Florida, and Arizona. I understand perfectly." I signed my name, Sylvia J. Hartwell, on the final page and pushed the folder back. My husband and I spent 20 years working 80-hour weeks, eating gas station sandwiches, sleeping on office couches. When the money finally came, we had everything except time together. Now I have time. I choose to spend it simply. "But your daughter doesn't know?" I stood smoothing my old navy cardigan. "Raquel knows what she's chosen to see." Outside the law office, December wind whipped through downtown Richmond. I walked past the Lexus dealership, the high-end boutiques, the restaurant where entrees cost more than some people's weekly grocery budget. My 15-year-old Honda Civic sat in a public parking lot 3 blocks away. I could have parked in the building's garage. I could have hired a driver. But I'd learned something in the 5 years since Richard died. The people who love you for who you are don't care what you drive. And the people who care what you drive don't love you for who you are. My phone buzzed. Raquel. "Mom, hi, it's me. Listen, I'm at Whole Foods right now. Do you need anything? I know you don't like driving far." I looked at my car, perfectly capable of driving anywhere I wanted. "Sweetheart, I don't need— I'll grab some of that generic coffee you like, the cheap kind. Oh, and I noticed your phone bill last month was kind of high. I'm going to switch you to our family plan. It'll be cheaper." Not a question. An announcement. "Raquel, you don't have to— Mom, let me help. That's what daughters do." Her voice carried that particular brightness that meant she was in public performing her role as the dutiful child. "Oh, I should let you go. Brian and I are taking the kids to look at holiday lights tonight. You remember Brian's parents have that big house with all the decorations. We're meeting them for dinner after." "That sounds lovely." "Yeah, it's expensive, but Brian's parents insist on paying. They're so generous." A pause. "Not like you have to worry about that kind of thing, right? You're probably just having a quiet night at home." The words landed like she meant them, to a reminder of the small, simple life she'd decided I lived. "Have a wonderful time, sweetheart." After she hung up, I sat in my car for a long moment. Through the window, I could see Bennett's office on the 3rd floor. Up there in his filing cabinet were documents that told a different story than the one Raquel believed. Account statements, property deeds, a will that I'd written and rewritten 3 times in the past year. The latest version sat unsigned on Bennett's desk. I wasn't ready to finalize it yet. Not until I knew who my daughter really was. The coffee shop near my house was the kind of place Raquel would never enter. Linoleum floors, mismatched furniture, coffee served in thick ceramic mugs instead of paper cups with names misspelled on the side. I loved it. Eleanor sat across from me, her wrinkled hands wrapped around a cappuccino. At 73, she was my oldest friend and the only person who knew the truth about my finances. "So Raquel thinks you're poor," Eleanor said, not bothering to hide her disapproval. "And you're just letting her— I'm not letting her think anything. I'm not correcting her assumptions." "That's the same thing, Sylvia." I watched steam rise from my cup. Is it When did I ever say I was struggling? When did I ever ask her for help? But you accept it. The interference, the suggestions. I accept her attention. I met Eleanor's sharp blue eyes. I thought it came from love, from concern. I thought if I waited long enough, she'd ask about my life instead of making assumptions about it. Eleanor leaned back, studying me with the frankness of someone who'd known me for 45 years. And she hasn't asked. No. What changed? I pulled out my phone and showed her a text from last week. Raquel had sent a photo of a Costco membership card. The message read, "Added you to our account. Now you can get those bulk deals you need. Every dollar counts." Eleanor's eyebrows rose. She bought you a charity membership, like I'm someone who needs bulk toilet paper to survive. I put the phone away. Last month she brought me a bag of her old clothes. Nice things barely worn. She said, "Mom, don't spend money on new outfits. These are perfectly good." Did you tell her that I could buy her entire wardrobe without checking my bank balance? I shook my head. What would that prove that I have money? She already thinks she knows who I am, Eleanor. She's painted a picture of poor struggling mom who needs to be managed, guided, helped, controlled. The word hung between us. I keep thinking about something Richard used to say, I continued quietly. He'd say, "Sylvia, love is active. It asks questions. It listens. It doesn't assume." I thought I was teaching Raquel that by example, but maybe I was just teaching her that silence means agreement. Eleanor reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But something's coming. I can feel it. I was right. 3 days later, I was in my small backyard garden. Nothing fancy, just tomatoes and herbs and the rose bushes Richard had planted the year before he died when my phone rang again. "Mom, amazing news!" Raquel's voice vibrated with excitement. "I booked a table at Luminaire for Christmas night. You know that new upscale restaurant downtown? It's supposed to be incredible." I set down my pruning shears. "That sounds lovely, sweetheart. Who's going? My book club friends." "Well, they're more than book club now. We've been getting together for years. There's Lauren, Amanda, Jessica, Brittany. You met some of them at my birthday, remember?" I remembered. Women in their early 40s, polished and professional, who'd spent most of that party discussing vacation homes and private school waiting lists. "That'll be nice for you," I said carefully. "Have a wonderful—" "Oh, Mom, you're coming too." Silence. "Raquel, I usually spend Christmas quietly. You know that." "Exactly. That's exactly why you need to come. I can't have you sitting home alone on Christmas. What would people think?" Her voice shifted, taking on that pleading quality that was hard to refuse. "Besides, my friends keep asking why they never see you. They probably think I'm hiding you away or something. I'm perfectly happy at home." "Mom," now her voice dropped, becoming softer, more intimate. "I feel terrible when I picture you alone on holidays. It makes me feel like I'm not being a good daughter. Please, do this for me." There it was. The guilt. The assumption that my quiet life was something sad, something that reflected poorly on her. "Raquel, please, I already made the reservation. 12 people. I put it on my card, well, the deposit anyway. It's going to be such a special night." In the background, I heard another voice, female laughing. Then Raquel's voice muffled as if she'd covered the phone. "She'll pay. I told you. Not a problem." My grip tightened on the phone. "Mom, you still there?" "I'm here." "So you'll come? Please say yes. Wear that blue sweater, you know, the nice one you got from Macy's. And maybe some of that jewelry. I know you don't like to dress up, but ma'am." "What time?" 7. "Oh, thank you, Mom. This means so much to me. You're the best." She lowered her voice again. "And don't worry about the cost. Okay, I know how you are about spending money. We'll all chip in for our portions. You won't have to pay for everyone." After she hung up, I stood in the garden for a long time. The December air was cold, but I barely felt it. In the background of that call, I'd heard the truth. Not just the words, but the tone, the assumption, the plan. This wasn't about including me in Christmas. This was about using me. That evening, Eleanor came over. I poured us both tea, the good kind from the specialty shop Eleanor loved, not the generic brand Raquel thought I could afford. "She invited you to an expensive restaurant," Eleanor said slowly. "With her friends, on Christmas." "Yes. And you heard her say you'd pay." "I heard enough." Eleanor set down her cup with a sharp click. "Then don't go. Simple." "I'm going." "Sylvia, I'm going because I need to know." I looked at my oldest friend, feeling something hard and certain settle in my chest. 5 years, Eleanor. 5 years I've lived in this house, driven that car, shopped at regular grocery stores. 5 years I've listened to advice about budgeting and saving and being realistic. Not once has Raquel asked me if I'm okay. Not once has she asked about my actual finances. She decided who I was, and she's been managing that fiction ever since. So what's the plan? I walked to my bedroom closet. Behind the ordinary clothes, past the sensible shoes, there was a small safe built into the wall. Richard had insisted on it. The combination was our wedding date. Inside, beneath some documents and my mother's pearls, was a slim leather wallet. I opened it. The card inside was matte black, heavier than normal plastic, with no visible numbers. Just my name in small, precise lettering, Sylvia J. Hartwell. And in the corner, almost invisible, Centurion D Unlimited. The American Express Centurion card. The black card that people whispered about but rarely saw. To even qualify, you needed to charge at least $250,000 annually on a regular platinum card, maintain exceptional credit, and have significant assets. The annual fee alone was $5,000. I'd had mine for 12 years. Richard had gotten his first. I hadn't used it since his funeral. Sylvia, Eleanor breathed. I'm going to have Christmas dinner with my daughter, and then we're going to find out who she really is. The week before Christmas passed in a strange fog. Raquel called twice, once to remind me about the dinner, once to suggest I not wear too much perfume because one of her friends had allergies. Each call reinforced the same message. Come but make yourself small. Be there, but don't take up space. On December 23rd, she stopped by my house unannounced. Through the window, I saw her pull up in her Lexus SUV, a gift from her husband Brian's parents, though she'd carefully never mentioned that part to me. Mom, hi. She swept in with a shopping bag. I was cleaning out my closet and found some things I thought you could use. The bag contained clothes, nice clothes, a cashmere sweater, 2 silk blouses, designer jeans with the tags still attached. Raquel, these are beautiful. Too beautiful for me too. Don't be silly. I barely wore them. Wrong size after having the kids. She moved through my small living room with the kind of restless energy that meant she was uncomfortable. Anyway, I figured you could use them. Save some money, you know. I looked at the price tag still dangling from one blouse. $340. This is very generous, I said carefully. That's what family does. She finally stopped moving, turning to face me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. We take care of each other, especially now that you're well, at this stage of life. This stage, you know what I mean. Retired, fixed income. Dad's been gone 5 years now. She trailed off, then brightened artificially. But you're doing great. This little house is perfect for you. So manageable. The house Richard and I had chosen together. The one I'd moved to because it had the garden he'd always wanted, the front porch where we'd planned to grow old together. And hey, Raquel continued, I wanted to give you a heads up about Christmas dinner. My friends are, well, they're successful women. They like nice things. I just don't want you to feel out of place. Out of place? You know what I mean. She laughed, uncomfortable. They'll probably talk about their vacations and shopping and boring stuff like that. Just smile and nod. Oh, and Mom, she lowered her voice. About the bill. I meant what I said, we'll all contribute to our portions. But if there's a difference at the end, I was hoping you could cover it. I know that's a lot to ask, but I'm kind of tapped out after Christmas shopping, and I'll take care of it, I heard myself say. The relief on her face was immediate. Really? Oh, thank you. I knew I could count on you. You're seriously the best. After she left, I sat with the bag of expensive cast-offs in my lap. Each piece of clothing was a message: I have more than you. I can afford to give these away. You should be grateful. I folded them carefully and put them in my closet, next to the simple blue sweater I planned to wear on Christmas, and next to the safe that held a card my daughter didn't know existed. I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m. I got up and made tea. Chamomile, which Richard always said smelled like lying to yourself about being calm. The thought made me smile, which made my eyes sting with tears. What would you do? I asked the empty kitchen. Would you tell me I'm being petty, testing her like this? But I knew what Richard would say. He'd said it before years ago when we'd argued about putting Raquel through an expensive private college. Sylvia, love isn't about giving people everything they want. It's about teaching them to value what matters. If we hand her everything, what does she learn? We'd compromised, paid for half her tuition, made her work for the rest. She'd hated us for it at the time, told her friends we were cheap, that we didn't care about her education, but she'd graduated with honors and a work ethic that got her a good job. Had I thought she'd learned the lesson? Maybe, until I saw how she treated me now. At 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Raquel. "Morning, Mom. So excited for tonight. Remember 7 p.m. sharp. The reservation is under Morrison Bryan's last name. See you there." I stared at that heart emoji for a long time. Did she mean it? Or was it just decoration, something you added to texts to make them seem warm? Eleanor called at noon. "You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. What if she surprises you? What if she's better than you think? Then I'll be happy to be wrong. And if she's worse?" I watched snow begin to fall outside my window, soft silent covering everything in white. Then we'll all know the truth. I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting the blue sweater Raquel had specifically requested. It was nice, real cashmere purchased 8 years ago at Macy's during a sale, the kind of thing someone on a budget would treasure and wear for special occasions. I looked exactly like what Raquel expected a woman in her late 60s, simply dressed, trying her best. In my small purse, I'd packed the essentials: wallet, keys, reading glasses, lipstick, and in a separate compartment sealed in its leather case, the black card. My phone rang. "Eleanor." "Last chance to back out," she said. "I'm not backing out." "Then remember this, whatever happens tonight, you're not doing this to hurt her. You're doing it to teach her." Am I just tired of being small? Eleanor was quiet for a moment. "Maybe it's both. Maybe that's okay." The drive to Luminaire took 20 minutes. Downtown Richmond was dressed for Christmas lights strung across streets, windows glowing warm, families hurrying to last-minute gatherings. I parked in a public garage 3 blocks away. The attendant, a young man with kind eyes, did a double-take when I handed him my ticket. "Ma'am, you okay walking? It's pretty icy out there." "I'm fine. Thank you for asking." He hesitated. "My grandma's about your age. I always worry about her walking in this weather. Can I call you a cab to the restaurant?" Something in my chest tightened, this stranger showing more concern than my own daughter had in months. "That's very kind, but I like the walk." His smile was genuine. "Merry Christmas, ma'am." "Merry Christmas." Luminaire was the kind of restaurant designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, chandeliers that probably cost more than most people's cars, a hostess in a black dress that definitely cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Reservation?" she asked, her smile professional and cold. "Morrison, party of 12. Her expression shifted just slightly as she glanced at my outfit. The old blue sweater, the sensible shoes, the department store handbag. "Of course, right this way." She led me through the restaurant past tables where people in designer clothes ate meals that would feed a family for a week. I'd been to places like this before during the years when Richard and I still went to business dinners, charity events, fundraisers, but that Sylvia wore Oscar de la Renta. This Sylvia wore Macy's clearance. "Raquel," the hostess's voice suddenly warmed. "Your mother's here." I saw my daughter before she saw me. She was at a long table near the windows, laughing with a group of women who all looked like they'd stepped out of a department store catalog. Designer dresses, perfect hair, makeup that probably took an hour to apply. Then Raquel turned. Her smile froze for just a fraction of a second, quick enough that only a mother would notice. Then it stretched too wide. "Mom, you made it." She hurried over, pulling me into a hug that smelled like expensive perfume and champagne. "Everyone, this is my mom, Sylvia." The group offered various greetings, polite, brief, then immediately returned to their conversation. "Come on," Raquel said, guiding me by the elbow. "I saved you a seat." But she didn't guide me to the center of the table where she sat. She guided me to the far end, the quiet end, the end where the lighting was dimmer and the conversation didn't reach. "Here," she pulled out a chair. "You'll be more comfortable here. Less noise, you know." "Raquel, I'm not hard of hearing." "I know, I just thought—" She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Some of the girls can get pretty loud, especially after a few drinks. I didn't want you to feel overwhelmed." The chair to my left remained empty. The woman to my right, Jessica, I think had her back turned, deep in conversation with someone else. I sat down. Raquel hesitated as if she wanted to say something else. Then she smiled that too bright smile again. "Order whatever you want, okay?" Don't worry about prices. She returned to the center of the table where someone was already pouring her more champagne. I looked at the menu. Wagyu beef tartare 85, Dover sole 120. The wine list offered bottles ranging from $200 to $2,000. Excuse me, I looked up. The waiter, young maybe 25, with nervous hands. Can I start you with something to drink? Before I could answer, Raquel's voice carried down the table. Brian, just water for my mom. Room temperature. She doesn't really drink. The waiter glanced at me, waited. Water is fine, I said. Thank you. He nodded and left. At the center of the table, I heard Raquel laugh. My mom's so easy. She never wants anything complicated. The next hour was a masterclass in being erased. The conversation flowed around me, trips to Aspen New Cars, private school drama, someone's kitchen renovation that cost only $180,000. When I tried to contribute to mention a book I'd read or a show I'd enjoyed, Raquel would smile apologetically and redirect. Oh, Mom mostly stays home now. She's not really into going out. Mom doesn't really follow that stuff anymore. At her age, she prefers simpler things. Each statement landed like a small cut, shallow enough not to draw blood, deep enough to leave a mark. The woman next to me, Jessica, finally turned around during a lull in conversation. So Sylvia Raquel tells us you're retired. Yes, That must be nice. No stress, no deadlines, just time to relax. It has its benefits. My mother-in-law is retired too. She mostly does puzzles and watches TV. Jessica smiled kindly, pityingly. It's important to stay mentally active at that age. I read quite a bit. Garden. I volunteer at... That's wonderful. But her attention had already drifted back to the other conversation. About someone's new Hermes bag. About holiday bonuses and year-end portfolios. At 8:30, the food arrived. My Dover sole was perfectly prepared, delicately plated, absolutely wasted on my numb taste buds. Across the table, Amanda Blonde, polished loud, leaned toward Raquel. So did Brian's parents, like their gifts, loved them. The scotch alone was like $800. Raquel laughed. They're so easy to shop for when money's no object. Must be nice, someone else said. My in-laws are impossible. Well, Brian's family has always been generous. The lake house, the help with our mortgage, the kids' school tuition. Raquel trailed off, then added almost as an afterthought. I just wish I could do more for my own mom, you know, but she's on a fixed income. It's hard. The words hung in the air. That's so sweet that you help her, Amanda said. I do what I can. The little things add up, right? Costco membership, handing down clothes, helping with her phone bill. Raquel's voice carried that particular tone of noble sacrifice. You're such a good daughter, Brittany chimed in. My mom's the same way, too proud to ask for help. You just have to step in. I set down my fork. Carefully, precisely. At the other end of the table, Raquel caught my eye. Her expression was complicated, part guilt, part defiance, part plea for understanding. I smiled. Small, neutral, and I waited. At 9:45, the waiter approached with a black leather folder. His face had gone pale. He stopped beside Raquel first. Ma'am, I have your check here. If you'd like to review it before... Oh! Raquel laughed loud enough to make nearby tables glance over. Everyone ready to head out. Around the table, women began gathering purses and coats, but the waiter didn't move. Ma'am, he said quietly, I really think you should look at the total before... It's fine. We all know what we ordered. Raquel stood slinging her $2,000 handbag over her shoulder. We'll handle it. Everyone put in their share already, right? A chorus of yep and all set followed. The waiter looked increasingly uncomfortable. The total is... Just leave it at the table. Raquel waved her hand dismissively. Then she looked at me, still sitting. Mom, you've got this right. We all covered our portions. There's probably just a little left over. The waiter's voice was almost a whisper now. Ma'am, the remaining balance is $16.50. Silence crashed over the table like a wave. What's... Lauren's voice cracked. 16,000... That can't be right, Brittany said, laughing nervously. The waiter opened the folder. His hands shook slightly. The total bill is $18,750, with the portions already paid by the other guests. He glanced at the payment receipts. Totaling $2,500, the remaining amount is $16.50. Raquel's face had gone from pink to white. That's more than my mortgage. The wine selections were premium vintage. the waiter said apologetically. The Chateau Margaux alone was $3,200 per bottle. You ordered 3, plus the Wagyu, the lobster thermidor, We didn't order that much. But Raquel's voice lacked conviction. Amanda shifted uncomfortably. I thought we were being reasonable. I put in 200, Jessica said defensively. That should have covered my meal. The waiter just stood there holding the folder like it might explode. Raquel looked at her friends, at the bill, at me. Mom, she said, her voice tight. You can handle this, right? I mean, I know it's a lot, but what? I asked quietly. But she stopped, started again. We talked about this. I told you there might be a balance. You said you'd take care of it. I said I'd take care of the bill, I corrected. I didn't say I'd pay for 3 bottles of wine that cost more than most people make in a month. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Are you serious right now? You're going to make a scene about money on Christmas. I'm not making a scene. I'm asking a question. Around us, conversations at other tables had stopped. People were watching now, not even pretending otherwise. This is ridiculous. Raquel grabbed her coat. Fine, put it on my card. I'll figure it out later. The waiter's expression said everything. Ma'am, I'm afraid this amount exceeds your card's available credit. The color flooded back into Raquel's face, hot, angry red. How do you know that you haven't even tried? We ran a pre-authorization when you made the reservation, he said, miserable. It's standard for large parties. Your card was declined for amounts over 5,000. Silence again, heavier now. Oh my God, Amanda whispered. Raquel turned on me. Mom, please, don't do this to me. Everyone's watching. Just pay it. I'll pay you back. How? The single word stopped her. How will you pay me back, Raquel? You just said this is more than your mortgage. You just told your friends you're tapped out from Christmas shopping. So how exactly will you repay $16,000? I'll figure it out, I always do. No, I said, my voice steady. You always assume I'll figure it out for you. I reached into my purse. Raquel saw the movement and sagged with relief. Thank you. Thank God. I don't know what I would have. I pulled out the leather wallet, opened it slowly. The card inside caught the light, matte black, elegant, expensive, in a way that didn't need to shout. The waiter's eyes went wide. Is that? His voice cracked. Ma'am, is that a Centurion card? Every head at the table turned. What's a Centurion card? Brittany asked. Jessica had her phone out typing. Then her face went slack. Oh my God, it's the American Express Black Card. You can't even apply for it. You have to be invited. And you need she kept reading, her voice getting smaller. You need a minimum of $50 million in assets. I held the card between 2 fingers. The weight of it, actual metal, not plastic, felt right. Familiar. Raquel stared. Mom, what is that? Where did you get that? From Richard. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. He got his 12 years ago when the company sold. I've had mine ever since. But you don't use it. You shop at regular stores. You drive an old car. You said. Raquel stopped, realization dawning. You never said anything. I just thought. You thought what, Raquel? I thought you were. She couldn't finish. Poor, I said the word gently. Struggling, in need of your help. Mom, I handed the card to the waiter. His hands trembled as he took it. I'll process this immediately. He said, his entire demeanor transformed. Mrs. Hartwell, would you like anything else this evening? Dessert, coffee. We have a private dining room if you'd prefer. No, thank you. Just the bill. He practically ran to the register. At the table, no one moved. No one spoke. Lauren broke first. Raquel, you said your mom was on a fixed income. I thought you said she needed help with bills. I thought you brought her your old clothes like charity. Amanda's voice had an edge now. Did you know she had money? No, I swear I didn't. I saw her after Dad died and she sold the big house and she stopped going out and I thought. Raquel's voice cracked. I thought she was struggling to cope. I thought I was helping. By telling everyone she was poor? Jessica shook her head. By putting her at the end of the table. I didn't, but she had. We all knew she had. The waiter returned with the card and a receipt. Mrs. Hartwell, you're all set. Thank you so much for dining with us this evening. We hope to see you again soon. He said it to me. Only to me. Behind him, the restaurant manager appeared, a distinguished man in his 50s. "Mrs. Hartwell, I'm Richard Sterling, the general manager. I wanted to apologize personally for any confusion this evening. We pride ourselves on discretion and service, and I'm afraid we fell short tonight." "It's not your fault." Nevertheless, he glanced at the table at Raquel's friends gathering their coats, whispering to each other. "Your meal this evening is complimentary. No charge. That's not necessary. I insist. Consider it our Christmas gift to a valued guest." He lowered his voice. "I knew your husband, actually, years ago. He helped fund my first restaurant. I'm very sorry for your loss." My throat tightened. "Thank you." He nodded and stepped away. I stood, gathered my simple coat and department store purse. Raquel grabbed my arm. "Mom, wait, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" "I didn't know. I really didn't know. I just saw you living small and I thought—" "You thought what you wanted to think," I said quietly. "You saw what was convenient. A mother who needed managing, who needed help, who needed you to be the strong one, the generous one, the daughter who sacrificed for her poor mother." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? When was the last time you asked me how I was really doing, not assumed?" "Asked." She opened her mouth, closed it. "When was the last time you asked about my finances, my life, my choices?" Silence. That's what I thought. I gently removed her hand from my arm. "Merry Christmas, Raquel." I walked toward the exit. Behind me I heard, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe she let us think. Raquel, did you really not know?" And my daughter's voice breaking. "I thought I was helping. I thought—" Outside, snow was falling harder now. The cold air hit my face like a slap, sharp and clarifying. A valet appeared. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "I'm parked at the garage on 5th Street. In this weather, please let me get you a car. I'm perfectly capable of—" "I'm sure you are." His smile was kind. "But it would make me feel better. My grandmother's your age. I'd want someone to help her too." His grandmother. Not his charity case. His grandmother. "That's very kind." He flagged a taxi, gave the driver my destination, pressed a 20 into the driver's hand before I could object. "Get the lady home safe." As we pulled away from Luminaire, I looked back. Through the windows, I could see Raquel still standing by the table, surrounded by her friends, looking lost. For 5 years, I'd let her believe a lie. Tonight, I'd given her the truth. What she did with it would tell me everything I needed to know. The taxi dropped me at my house at 10:47 p.m. I paid the driver cash, not the black card, and stood in my driveway for a moment, watching snow dust the Honda's windshield. Inside the house was exactly as I'd left it. Small, quiet, mine. I made chamomile tea and sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Richard and I had eaten thousands of meals, where we'd done our taxes, where we'd told Raquel she was going to be a big sister before I miscarried at 4 months. My phone sat silent on the table. No calls, no texts. I woke at 6 a.m. like always, made coffee, sat in the sunroom Richard had built watching cardinals fight over the bird feeder. At 7:15 my phone buzzed. "Raquel, Mom, we need to talk." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I set the phone face down and went to make breakfast. It buzzed again at 8:30. "Raquel, please answer. I know you're angry, but this isn't fair." "Isn't fair." I scrambled eggs, ate them slowly, washed the dishes by hand even though I had a perfectly good dishwasher. At 9 Hoziers, Eleanor called. "So," she said without preamble. "How do you feel?" "Empty," I said honestly. "Like I've been holding my breath for 5 years and finally exhaled." "Have you heard from her?" 2 texts, both saying we need to talk. And I'm not ready to talk." Eleanor was quiet for a moment. "You know the whole town is going to be buzzing about this by tomorrow." "Let them buzz. Raquel's friends will talk. People will ask questions." "Good. Maybe someone will ask Raquel the right questions." After we hung up, I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened my laptop and checked my investment accounts. Not because I needed to. Bennett's office sent quarterly reports, but because I wanted to see them, to remember who I actually was. Primary investment account. $31,400,000 a real estate portfolio, $8,900,000 liquid assets, $6,700,000 total net worth, $47,000, $47 million. And my daughter had brought me her old clothes. At 10 a.m. there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. Raquel stood on my porch, no makeup hair and a messy ponytail, wearing sweatpants and one of Brian's old college hoodies. She looked like she'd been crying. I opened the door but didn't step back to let her in. "Mom," her voice cracked immediately. "Please, can we talk about what? About Christmas, about everything." She wrapped her arms around herself. "I haven't slept. Brian's barely speaking to me. His parents called yesterday and She stopped, swallowed. "Everyone's talking about it. Amanda posted on Facebook about surprising revelations at holiday dinners, and everyone knows she means me." "So you're here because you're embarrassed?" "No, I'm here because I'm sorry." "For what specifically?" She blinked. For not knowing, for assuming, for treating me like a charity case." I kept my voice level. "For telling your friends I was on a fixed income, for putting me at the end of the table like a shameful secret." "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it, Raquel?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I thought I was helping. I never asked for help." "But you were living so small, you sold the house, you stopped going out, you drove that old car. What was I supposed to think?" "You were supposed to ask." The words came out harder than I intended. "You were supposed to say, 'Mom, I notice you've made some changes. Are you okay? Do you need anything?' Instead, you decided who I was and then managed that fiction. That's not fair." "Fair." Something hot flared in my chest. "You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that you told strangers I was poor without ever asking me? Is it fair that you brought me your cast-off clothes like I was some kind of donation center? Is it fair that you assumed I couldn't afford my own phone plan, my own gym membership, my own life?" "I was trying to help." "No." I shook my head. "You were trying to feel important, needed, like the good daughter who sacrificed for her struggling mother. It made you feel generous, didn't it? Made you look good to your friends." "That's not," but her face said I'd hit close to home. "I listened to you at that table, Raquel. I heard you tell your friends about all the ways you helped me, the Costco membership, the phone plan, the clothes. You weren't helping me. You were building a story about yourself." She was crying hard now, hands pressed to her face. "I didn't know, Mom. I swear I didn't know you had money." "It's not about the money." The words burst out of me. "It's about respect. It's about seeing me as a full person, not a problem to solve, or a prop in your life story." "I do see you." "When was the last time you asked about my life, really asked? Not are you managing or do you need help? When did you last ask what I was reading, what I was thinking? What made me happy?" Silence. That's what I thought. I stepped back. "I need space, Raquel. Time to think." "How much time?" "I don't know." "Mom, please. It's Christmas. We can and we will." I started to close the door, then stopped. "You know what hurts most? I spent 5 years giving you chances to see me. Every time you offered help, I didn't need every time you spoke for me. Instead of asking every time you made assumptions, those were all opportunities, and you missed every single one." I closed the door softly, locked it. Through the wood, I heard her sob. "Mom, please." I walked away. Eleanor came over with soup, homemade chicken noodle, Richard's favorite recipe that she'd learned from his mother. "You're not eating," she observed, watching me push noodles around the bowl. "I'm not hungry." "You're not sleeping either. I can see the bags under your eyes." I set down my spoon. Did I do the right thing, Eleanor? Or did I just humiliate my daughter to prove a point? "That depends." Eleanor leaned back in her chair. "Why did you really do it? To teach her? No. Why really?" I was quiet for a long time. "Because I was tired. Tired of being small. Tired of pretending. Tired of waiting for her to see me." There it is. But maybe that makes me selfish. Maybe I should have just told her years ago. Maybe... "Sylvia," Eleanor's voice was sharp. "Stop. You gave her 5 years. 5 years where she could have asked a single question about your actual life. She didn't. That's not on you." "But I let her believe." "You let her believe what she wanted to believe. There's a difference." Eleanor pushed the soup closer. "Eat. You need your strength for what comes next." "What comes next?" "She's not going to give up. She's going to push back. Probably bring Brian. Maybe even the kids." "She wouldn't use the kids." Eleanor gave me a look. That night I got a text from Brian Raquel's husband. "Brian. Sylvia, this is Brian. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Raquel is devastated. She really thought she was helping. Can we come talk, please? I didn't respond. An hour later, another text. Brian, the kids are asking for you. They don't understand why Grandma won't answer the phone. This is breaking their hearts. There it was, the guilt card. I turned off my phone. At 3 p.m., I called Attorney Bennett. Mrs. Hartwell, I've been expecting your call. You've heard? Small town, big story. A woman with a Centurion card dining at Luminaire on Christmas isn't exactly subtle. He paused. Are you all right? I need to modify my will. I see. Would you like to schedule an appointment? Yes, but first I want to know something. Legally, can I put conditions on an inheritance, such as requiring my daughter to complete certain educational requirements before receiving her portion? Bennett was quiet for a moment. That's an interesting approach. Yes, it's possible. We'd call it an incentive trust or conditional bequest. You can require beneficiaries to meet specific milestones, education, career achievements, behavioral requirements before receiving assets. What kind of requirements? Whatever you deem appropriate. Some clients require college degrees. Others require sobriety for a certain period. Some require participation in family business or charitable work. He paused. May I ask what you're considering? I want Raquel to take courses, financial literacy, family psychology, maybe therapy. I looked out the window at the snow-covered garden. I want her to understand what she did wrong. Really understand. Not just apologize because it's expected. That's actually quite reasonable. More constructive than many conditional bequests I've seen. Can you draft something? Of course. But Mrs. Hartwell, this kind of condition often creates more family conflict, not less. Mr. Bennett, the conflict already exists. I'm just making it visible. We scheduled an appointment for January the 2nd. After I hung up, I sat with the weight of what I'd just set in motion. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about the money. It was about making sure that if Raquel inherited my life's work, she understood the values that built it. I woke to find a car in my driveway. Not Raquel's Lexus. A Cadillac Escalade. Brian's parents. Before I could decide what to do, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Margaret and Robert Morrison, 65 and 68, respectively, dressed in their usual country club casual. Margaret's diamonds caught the morning light. Sylvia. Margaret's smile was warm but calculated. May we come in? I considered saying no, but curiosity won. Of course. They settled into my small living room, Margaret on the couch, Robert in the armchair Richard used to occupy. It felt wrong seeing him there. Would you like coffee? I asked, more from habit than hospitality. No, thank you. Margaret folded her manicured hands. We won't take much of your time. We just wanted to check on you after Christmas. I'm fine. Are you? Robert leaned forward. Because Raquel is quite upset. She's been crying for days. Brian says she's barely eating. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Margaret's voice had an edge now. Because it seems like you orchestrated quite a dramatic scene. Using that credit card to embarrass your daughter in front of her friends. I used my credit card to pay a bill. You could have warned her, could have told her about your financial situation before putting her in that position. I met Margaret's eyes. Raquel put herself in that position when she invited me to an expensive dinner and assumed I'd pay without asking. She thought you were struggling. Margaret's composure cracked slightly. What was she supposed to think? You live in this tiny house, drive that old car. This house is paid for. That car runs perfectly. And neither of those things should tell you anything about my bank account. I kept my voice level. But you know what does tell you something? That in 5 years, neither Raquel nor anyone in your family ever asked me about my actual finances. You all just assumed. Robert cleared his throat. With all due respect, Sylvia, you did sell the big house. You did change your lifestyle. What were we supposed to think? You were supposed to ask. Or better yet, you were supposed to respect my choices without making them about money at all. Margaret stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. You're being petty and vindictive. Raquel made a mistake, yes, but she's your daughter. You're punishing her for trying to help. She wasn't trying to help me. She was trying to control me. That's absurd. Is it? I stood too. She canceled my gym membership without asking, changed my phone plan without permission, brought me her old clothes like charity, told her friends I was on a fixed income, put me at the end of the table at Christmas dinner like a shameful secret. My voice hardened. Those aren't acts of help. They're acts of management, of condescension. Margaret's face flushed. We've been very generous with Raquel and Brian. The lake house, the children's tuition, and that's wonderful, truly. But your generosity to them doesn't give Raquel permission to treat me like a burden. You're being unreasonable, Robert said, standing beside his wife. Family makes sacrifices, compromises. Raquel was trying to include you in her life. By erasing mine, I shook my head. I don't think we have anything else to discuss. Margaret pulled on her gloves in aggressive gesture. Fine, but when Raquel and Brian struggle financially because they can't count on your help, remember this conversation. The threat was clear. They'd been subsidizing Raquel and Brian's lifestyle. If I wasn't going to contribute, they might stop. Margaret, I never asked to be counted on for financial help. That was an assumption, like everything else. They left without another word. I locked the door behind them and sagged against it. This was getting messier, spreading wider, but I couldn't stop now. At 11 a.m., Eleanor called. Have you looked at Facebook? I don't use Facebook. Well, Amanda does. She posted something. Eleanor read it to me. You never really know people. Sometimes the ones crying poverty are the richest of all. Makes you wonder what else they're lying about. Head fake news, Christmas 2024. Wealthy but wise. Wealthy but wise, I repeated. It's trending in Richmond. People are trying to figure out who she's talking about. Some know. Most are guessing. Let them talk. Sylvia, this could hurt Raquel's reputation, her business relationships. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about how Raquel hurt my dignity for 5 years? Eleanor sighed. Fair point. What are you doing tonight? Probably the same thing I've done every New Year's since Richard died. Reading. Going to bed at 10. Come to my place. We'll have champagne. Watch the ball drop. Celebrate you finally standing up for yourself. Eleanor. Don't Eleanor me. You're coming. 8 p.m. Bring nothing except yourself. She hung up before I could argue. At 7 p.m. I was getting ready when headlights flooded my driveway again. Not Raquel's car, not the Morrisons' Escalade, a minivan. Through the window I watched Raquel get out of the passenger side, then Brian from the driver's side, then from the back 2 small figures. My grandchildren. Sophie 7, Max 5. Oh no. No. The knock came. Small fists, not adult hands. Grandma? Sophie's voice muffled by the door. Grandma, are you home? My hand froze on the doorknob. Grandma, please, Max, now. We miss you. Why won't you answer? I looked through the peephole. Sophie and Max stood on my porch in their winter coats, breath fogging in the cold. Behind them, Raquel and Brian stood back, strategically visible but not leading. This was calculated. Deliberate. Using my grandchildren as emotional leverage. I opened the door. Sophie's face lit up. Grandma! She lunged forward, wrapping her arms around my waist. Max followed, tiny hands gripping my sweater. We missed you so much, Sophie said, her voice muffled against me. Mom said you were sick, but you don't look sick. Are you better now? Sick. Raquel had told them I was sick. I looked over their heads at my daughter. She had the grace to look ashamed. I'm fine, sweetheart. Not sick at all. Then why haven't you come over? Max's lower lip trembled. We made you cookies and everything. Can we come in? Sophie asked. It's really cold. What choice did I have? I stepped back. The kids rushed past me into the warmth. Raquel and Brian followed more slowly. Don't say it, Raquel said before I could speak. I know this is manipulative, but I'm desperate, Mom. I don't know what else to do. You could try respecting my request for space. How much space a week? A month, a year? Her eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. You're my mother. I can't lose you. You should have thought of that before you... Grandma, Sophie called from the living room. Can we watch a movie, please? I looked at the kids already pulling off their coats, settling onto my couch like they belonged there. Which they did. Always had. This was the problem with family. The innocent got caught in the crossfire. One movie, I said. Then you go home. Sophie cheered. Max clapped. While they argued over which movie to watch, Raquel followed me into the kitchen. Thank you, she said quietly, for letting them in, for not turning them away. I'd never turn them away. They're children. This isn't their fault. It's not mine either. Not really. I didn't know Raquel. I turned to face her. Stop saying you didn't know. Start asking yourself why you didn't know, why you never asked, why you spent 5 years making assumptions instead of having one honest conversation with me. I was afraid, she blurted out. Okay, I was afraid. Of what? Of? She struggled with the words. After Dad died, you changed. You sold the house, you withdrew. You stopped doing all the things you used to do. And I thought you were depressed, or struggling, or losing yourself. And I didn't know how to help someone who wouldn't admit they needed help. So I stepped in. I managed. I controlled. Tears streamed down her face. I thought I was saving you. For the first time in days, I felt something crack inside me. Raquel, I said softly, I didn't need saving. I needed time, space to grieve, room to figure out who I was without your father. But you got so small. I got quiet, there's a difference. I leaned against the counter. Your father and I built something big together. The company, the money, the lifestyle. When he died, I realized I didn't want big anymore. I wanted simple, real. A garden instead of a mansion. A few good friends instead of 100 acquaintances. Time to read and think instead of constant social obligations. You could have told me that. I tried, in my own way, but you weren't listening. You were too busy deciding what my life should look like. In the living room, Sophie laughed at something in the movie. The sound was pure, uncomplicated. What do I do now? Raquel asked. How do I fix this? I don't know if you can. Mom, I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I don't know yet. I met her eyes. You hurt me, Raquel. Deeply. And it wasn't one thing. It was 5 years of small cuts that added up to one big wound. I'm sorry. I know you are. But sorry isn't the same as understanding. And understanding isn't the same as change. Brian appeared in the doorway. Kids need to use the bathroom, I pointed. Down the hall. After he ushered them away, Raquel and I stood in awkward silence. We should go, she finally said. Yes. Can I call you, text you? You can, but I need more time, Raquel. Real time. Not just a few days. How much time? I don't know. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, I'll wait. However long you need. As they were leaving, Sophie hugged me tight. Happy New Year, Grandma. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. After they left, I sat in my quiet house and cried. Not angry tears, sad ones. This was harder than I'd thought it would be. Hurting my daughter hurt me, but letting her continue hurting me hurt more. At 8 p.m., I went to Eleanor's. We drank champagne. We watched the ball drop. We toasted to new beginnings and old truths. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Raquel. Happy New Year, Mom. I love you, and I'm going to prove it. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. I woke with a champagne headache and a heart that felt too heavy for my chest. My phone showed 7 new messages. 3 from Raquel, 2 from Brian, 1 from Margaret Morrison, 1 from an unknown number. I ignored them all and made coffee. At 10 a.m. there was a knock on my door. I almost didn't answer, but something made me look through the peephole. A delivery person stood there holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. I opened the door. Sylvia Hartwell. Yes. These are for you. Sign here, please. The bouquet was excessive, at least 3 dozen roses perfectly arranged. The card read, Mom, I know flowers can't fix this, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. I'm sorry. I'm listening. I'm learning. Please give me a chance to prove it. Love, Raquel. I set them on the kitchen table and stared at them for a long time. They were beautiful, expensive, exactly the kind of gesture Raquel thought would matter, but they weren't what I needed. I needed time, space, distance to see if the woman who sent these flowers could become the woman who finally understood why they weren't enough. At noon, I sat down and wrote a letter. Not an email, not a text, a real letter with pen and paper. Dear Raquel, thank you for the flowers. They're lovely, but what I need isn't flowers or apologies. What I need is for you to understand what you did and why it hurt. For 5 years, you've been managing my life without my permission, canceling memberships, changing plans, bringing me charity, and worst of all, telling people I was poor, not struggling, not careful with money, poor, as if my worth was measured by my spending. You never asked if I was happy. You never asked if I'd chosen this life. You assumed I was diminished and then treated me accordingly. That's not love, Raquel. That's control disguised as care. I don't know what our relationship looks like moving forward, but I know it can't look like it did before. If you want to rebuild, you need to do the work. Real work, not just apologies and flowers. I love you. I always will. But love without respect isn't enough. Mom, I sealed the letter and mailed it before I could change my mind. Then I called Attorney Bennett. I'd like to move forward with modifying my will, tomorrow if possible. Tomorrow is January 2nd. New Year's Day was yesterday, so we'll be open. I have an opening at 2 p.m. I'll be there. Mrs. Hartwell, are you certain about this? Conditional inheritances can be challenged. They can create family rifts that last generations. The rift already exists, Mr. Bennett. I'm just making sure it serves a purpose. After I hung up, I sat in Richard's chair, the one in the sunroom where he used to read the paper every morning. I imagined what he'd say if he were here. Sylvia, are you being fair? Maybe not, but I'm being honest. Good. Honest is harder than fair, but it lasts longer. I closed my eyes and let myself miss him. Really miss him. Not the polite, manageable grief I'd been carrying, the raw, ugly truth of it. He'd been gone 5 years, and I'd spent those 5 years letting our daughter treat me like a burden. No more. Tomorrow I'd sign papers that would change everything. Tonight I'd sleep knowing I'd finally stopped being small. Attorney Bennett's office felt different this time. Colder. More final. He slid 3 documents across his desk. I've drafted the modifications as we discussed. Take your time reading through them. I put on my reading glasses, the good ones, not the drugstore kind, and began. Codicil to the last will and testament of Sylvia Jean Hartwell. Article 1, Distribution of Assets. A. Charitable bequest 60% of estate, approximately $200,000. To be distributed to the Richard Hartwell Foundation for Widowed Entrepreneurs, a 501c3 organization to be established upon my death. This foundation shall provide grants, mentorship, and resources to women over 50 who have lost spouses and wish to start businesses or pursue education. I paused. Richard would have loved this. He'd always said the best wealth was the kind that multiplied by giving it away. B. Conditional bequest to Raquel Morrison, née Hartwell 30% of estate, approximately $14,100,000. This bequest is conditional upon the following requirements to be completed within 24 months of my death. 1. Completion of a certified financial literacy program, minimum 40 hours. 2. Completion of family therapy sessions, minimum 20 sessions with a licensed therapist. 3. Completion of a course in gerontology or aging studies from an accredited institution. 4. Written essay, minimum 5,000 words reflecting on ageism, respect and family dynamics to be reviewed by the estate trustee. 5. Volunteer work, minimum 100 hours with organizations serving elderly populations. Should these conditions not be met within the specified time frame, Raquel's portion shall be redirected to the Richard Hartwell Foundation. C. Direct bequest to Sophie and Max Morrison 5% each, approximately $2,350,000 each, to be held in trust until each child reaches age 25 with educational expenses covered from age 18 onward. D. Bequest to Eleanor Patricia Whitmore remaining assets, in recognition of 45 years of loyal friendship and steadfast support. I set down the first page. My hand trembled slightly. This is quite comprehensive, Bennett said, but I need to ask again, are you prepared for Raquel's reaction? She won't know about this until after I'm gone. She'll figure out something changed when you come here to sign. These visits leave paper trails. Then she'll have to wonder. I picked up the second page. What's this? A letter of instruction, explaining your reasoning to the executor. It's not legally binding, but it helps contextualize your decisions if the will is challenged. I read to whom it may concern. This will may seem harsh. Perhaps it is, but I have written it not from cruelty but from love. The kind of love that demands growth rather than enabling stagnation. My daughter Raquel spent 5 years treating me as though I were incapable, poor, and diminished. She made assumptions about my life, my finances, and my worth without ever asking direct questions. She controlled aspects of my life without permission, believing herself generous when she was actually condescending. I do not blame her entirely. Our society teaches us that elderly people, particularly elderly women, lose value, that we become burdens, that we need managing. Raquel absorbed these lessons and applied them to me, but I will not enable those beliefs with my death any more than I did with my life. If Raquel completes the requirements I've set, she will inherit a substantial sum, but more importantly, she will inherit understanding. She will learn about ageism, about respect, about truly seeing the elderly as full human beings. She will learn about financial literacy and the assumptions we make about money and worth. She will do the emotional work of therapy to understand our relationship. This is not punishment. This is education. The most expensive education I'll ever provide. If she refuses to do this work, the money will go to women who need it more. Women like the one Raquel believed I was. I hope she chooses growth. Sylvia Jean Hartwell. I set down the letter. My eyes were wet. This is perfect, I whispered. Bennett handed me a pen. Then sign here, and initial here. I signed. Each stroke of the pen felt like a closing door and an opening window. One more thing, Bennett said. You should consider writing a personal letter to Raquel, something separate from the legal documents, to be delivered after your death, but explaining your reasoning in your own words. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. None of us know how much time we have. As I drove home, my phone rang. Raquel. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Mom. Her voice was thick like she'd been crying. Again. Did you get my letter? The flowers. I got them. I sent you a response. You should receive it tomorrow. Can't you just tell me what it says? No. Some things need to be written down. Read slowly. Absorbed. Silence. Then, Mom, I've been thinking about everything. And I want to go to therapy. Real therapy. To understand what I did wrong. I pulled over to the side of the road. What now? Brian's been talking to me. So have his parents believe it or not. They pointed out some things I hadn't seen. About how I was treating you. About assumptions I made. She took a shaky breath. I called 3 therapists today. I have an appointment next week. Something in my chest loosened. Just slightly. That's good, Raquel. That's really good. I'm not just doing it to get back in your good graces. I'm doing it because I need to. Because I don't want to be the person who treats her mother that way. Who treats anyone that way. I'm glad. Can I tell you about it? After my sessions, not everything but just what I'm learning. I thought about the will sitting in Bennett's office, about the requirements I'd just written into it. Yes, you can tell me. Thank you. Her voice broke. I love you, Mom. I love you too. After we hung up, I sat in my car for a long time watching traffic pass by. Maybe she was changing. Maybe she wasn't. Either way, I'd done what I needed to do. Raquel called me on the evening of her first therapy appointment. I cried for 45 minutes, she said without preamble. Just sat there and cried while Dr. Patterson handed me tissues. What made you cry? She asked me to describe our relationship. I started with all the ways I help you, the Costco membership, the phone plan, all of it. And she listened. Then she asked, did your mother ask for those things? I waited. And I said no, but that you needed them. And she asked how I knew you needed them. And I said because of the way you were living. And she asked if I'd ever considered that maybe you were living that way by choice. Raquel's voice got smaller. I hadn't, Mom. I genuinely hadn't considered that you might be happy. Oh, sweetheart. She asked me why I assumed you were poor, and I told her about the small house and the old car and how you stopped going out. And she asked if I'd noticed anything else, if you seemed healthy, engaged, content. And I realized you did. You were gardening and reading and volunteering. You seemed fine. Better than fine, actually. You seemed peaceful. I was. But I decided that wasn't enough. That peace wasn't enough. That you should want more stuff, more activity, more. She laughed bitterly. Dr. Patterson asked me whose life I was actually trying to fix, yours or mine. What did you say? I didn't know. I still don't know. A long pause. Mom, can I ask you something? Yes. After Dad died, why did you change so much? Why did you really sell the house and move into something smaller? I looked around my small living room, the built-in bookshelves Richard had installed, the window seat where I read every morning, the kitchen where I could see the garden while cooking. Because the big house was full of ghosts, I said quietly. Every room reminded me of what we'd lost, the plans we'd made, the future that would never happen. I couldn't heal there. So you left. I found somewhere new, somewhere I could build a different life. Not a worse life, just different. And the car, the simple clothes, all of that. I stopped caring about impressing people I don't care about. After your father died, I realized how much energy we'd spent on appearances. The right house in the right neighborhood, the right car, the right charities. It was exhausting. And for what? But you could still afford all of that. You didn't have to give it up. No, I chose to give it up. There's a difference. I stood and walked to the window. Raquel, I have $47 million. I could live in a mansion. I could drive a Ferrari. I could wear designer clothes and eat at expensive restaurants every night. But none of that would make me happy. This makes me happy. My garden, my books, my simple life. This is what I want. I didn't know, she whispered. I really didn't know. I know you didn't. That's what hurt most. We talked for another hour. Really talked. Not Raquel telling me what I needed or me holding back. Honest conversation. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, Hope. Raquel asked if she could visit. Alone. No Brian, no kids, no agenda. Just me and you, she said, like it used to be. She arrived at 2 p.m. on a Saturday carrying a box from the bakery. Richard and I used to love the one that made those apple turnovers he'd eat for breakfast every Sunday. I remembered you liked these, she said shyly. We sat at the kitchen table with tea and turnovers. For a few minutes, we didn't talk about anything heavy, just the weather, the kids. A funny thing that happened at her work. Then Raquel set down her cup. Mom, I need to tell you something. Something I realized in therapy. Okay. After Dad died, I was terrified. Not just sad terrified. Because he was always the strong one, the successful one, the one who handled everything. And I thought you'd fall apart without him. She looked at her hands. I thought I'd have to take care of you. Financially, emotionally, all of it. And I was scared because I didn't know if I could. Oh, Raquel. So when you sold the house and moved here, when you started living simply, I thought you were falling apart. I thought you were giving up. And instead of asking you what was really happening, I took over. Because taking over felt safer than admitting I was scared. You were grieving too, I said gently. You lost your father. But I made my grief about you. I turned you into my project so I didn't have to feel my own pain. Tears slid down her cheeks. And I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. I'm so sorry I made assumptions. I'm so sorry I tried to control your life because I couldn't control my own fear. I reached across the table and took her hand. Thank you for telling me that. Dr. Patterson is helping me see a lot of things. About control, about fear, about how I've been doing the same thing to Brian and the kids, managing them instead of trusting them, deciding what's best instead of asking what they need. That's hard work. It is, but it's necessary. She squeezed my hand. I don't know if I can ever fully fix what I did, but I want to try. I want to be the daughter you deserve. You already are, sweetheart. You're doing the work. That's what matters. We talked for 3 more hours, about Dad, about fear, about the ways grief changes us. When she left, she hugged me tight, not the performative hugs from before, a real one. I love you, Mom. I love you too. After she drove away, I sat in the darkening kitchen and cried. But this time they were good tears. The doorbell rang at 10 a.m. I opened it to find Sophie and Max standing there with Brian. Surprise! Sophie held up a handmade card covered in glitter hearts. We made you Valentines. We did it ourselves, Max added proudly. Mom helped with the scissors, but we did the gluing. Brian smiled apologetically. Raquel's at a workshop today, financial literacy course actually. She's been taking them every Saturday. The kids wanted to make sure you got your cards on time. I invited them in. Sophie and Max bounced around the living room, pointing out all the things they remembered: the cookie jar shaped like a cat, the photo of them on the mantel, the soft throw blanket they liked to curl up in. Grandma, Sophie said suddenly, are you and Mom friends again? We're working on it, sweetheart. Good. Because Mom was really sad when you were fighting. She cried a lot. Max nodded seriously. Daddy said you weren't fighting, you were just having grown-up talks, but it seemed like fighting. Sometimes grown-ups need space to figure things out, I said carefully. But that doesn't mean we stop loving each other. Do you love Mom? Sophie asked. Very much. Even when you're mad at her. Especially then. Brian cleared his throat. Sylvia, I owe you an apology too. I knew she was controlling your life in ways that weren't appropriate. I should have said something. I should have backed her off. But it was easier to let her feel needed, feel useful. I took the easy path. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that. She's really changed, in the past month. She's more present with me and the kids. She asks before deciding. She listens more. Whatever happened at Christmas, it woke her up. Good. After they left, I looked at the handmade Valentine's wobbly hearts and crooked letters spelling "We love you, Grandma." I put them on the refrigerator right next to a photo of Richard. He would have loved this. The messiness of it all. The hard conversations. The growth. We did good with her, I told his photo. She just needed a push. Raquel called with a request. Mom, I'm having a small dinner party next weekend. Just 6 people, me, Brian, his parents, Eleanor, and you. I want to do something I should have done years ago. What's that? Acknowledge you. Really acknowledge you. Not as poor Mom who needs help, but as the incredible woman you are. She paused. Will you come? Please. What are you planning? You'll have to wait and see. But I promise no surprises that will embarrass you. No scenes. Just me finally getting it right. I agreed. The dinner was at Raquel and Brian's house, a beautiful colonial in a nice neighborhood that I'd learned was heavily subsidized by Brian's parents' loan that would never be repaid. When I arrived, Raquel greeted me at the door. You look beautiful, Mom. I'd worn one of the silk blouses she'd given me months ago, the ones I'd tucked away. It felt right to wear it now. Eleanor arrived right behind me. This should be interesting, she murmured. The dining room table was set simply, elegantly. No show, just care. Margaret and Robert Morrison were already seated. They stood when I entered. Sylvia, Margaret said, her voice careful. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. We all sat. Brian poured wine a nice Pinot Noir, but not the $3,000 bottles from Christmas. Raquel stood. She was nervous, I could see it in the way she gripped her wine glass. I asked you all here tonight because I need to say something. Something I should have said a long time ago. She looked at me. Mom, for 5 years I treated you terribly. I made assumptions about your life, your finances, and your worth. I controlled you without permission. I spoke for you instead of listening to you. And worst of all, I made you small to make myself feel big. The room was silent. I told myself I was helping, that I was being a good daughter, but really I was being a controlling, condescending person who couldn't see past her own fear and ego. Her voice shook. You are not poor. You are not diminished. You are not a burden or a charity case. You are Sylvia Hartwell, a brilliant, strong, generous woman who chose to live simply because you wanted to, not because you had to. Tears streamed down her face now. You built a fortune with Dad. You could buy and sell everyone at this table. But you chose differently. You chose peace, simplicity, meaning. And instead of respecting that choice, I tried to fix what wasn't broken. I'm so sorry. She turned to Brian's parents. Margaret, Robert, you've been incredibly generous to Brian and me, but I've let that generosity make me feel entitled, like I deserved help, but my mother didn't. That was wrong. Mom never needed our help. She was fine. Better than fine. She was exactly who she wanted to be. Margaret's eyes were bright. Raquel, Please let me finish. Raquel turned back to me. Mom, I know I can't undo 5 years of disrespect, but I'm trying to learn. I'm in therapy. I'm taking financial literacy courses. I'm volunteering at a senior center, listening to people's stories, really listening. And I'm learning that age doesn't diminish worth. That simple doesn't mean less. That quiet doesn't mean weak. She walked over to me, knelt beside my chair. I'm learning to see you, really see you. And I'm begging for the chance to keep learning. To rebuild our relationship on respect instead of assumptions, on questions instead of control. She pulled something from her pocket. An envelope. This is a letter. I wrote it in therapy. It's everything I understand now about what I did and why it was wrong. I'd like you to read it. But not now, later when you're alone. And then if you're willing, I'd like to start fresh. Not as manager and managed. as equals, as mother and daughter. I took the envelope. My hands were shaking. Raquel, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Please. I stood pulling her up with me. Then I hugged her, really hugged her like I hadn't in years. I'm proud of you, I whispered. So proud. Around the table I heard Eleanor sniffling. Even Margaret was wiping her eyes. The rest of the dinner was different. Raquel asked me questions, real questions, about my life, my choices, my plans. Are you happy? Mom, truly happy? Yes. What makes you happiest? I thought about it. My garden, my books, coffee with Eleanor, watching you grow into someone who asks instead of assumes. She smiled through tears. I'm trying. I know you are. I sat in my sunroom with a cup of coffee watching Cardinals at the feeder. Then I picked up my phone. Bennett, it's Sylvia Hartwell. I need to make another modification to my will. What kind of modification? I want to remove the conditions on Raquel's inheritance. Silence. Mrs. Hartwell, are you certain the conditional bequest was very carefully structured to... She's already doing the work. All of it. She's in therapy. She's taking financial courses. She's volunteering. She's writing and reflecting and changing. I smiled. She's doing everything I would have required without knowing I'd require it. That's remarkable. She's my daughter. She's remarkable. I paused. But I want to keep the charitable foundation. The 60% to the Richard Hartwell Foundation stays, and the trusts for the grandchildren stay. Just remove the conditions on Raquel's portion. Consider it done. When would you like to come in? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll have the documents ready. Raquel suggested a picnic just us at the park where I used to take her as a child. We spread a blanket under a huge oak tree. She'd packed sandwiches, fruit lemonade. Simple food. Good food. Mom, I have something to tell you. My heart jumped. What? I've been offered a promotion. It would mean more money, more responsibility, but also more hours, more stress. Are you going to take it? I don't know. I used to think more was always better, more money, more status, more stuff. But now, she looked at me. Now I wonder if enough is better than more. I felt tears prick my eyes. Oh, sweetheart. You taught me that. Not by telling me, by showing me. By choosing enough over everything. She squeezed my hand. I don't know what I'll decide yet, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it differently now. Thinking about what actually matters. What matters to you? Time with Brian and the kids. Time with you. Time to breathe and think and just be. Not always chasing the next thing. That sounds wise. It sounds like you. She smiled. I'm trying to learn from the best. We spent the afternoon in the park, talking and laughing and watching kids play on the swings. It felt like old times, before Richard died, before fear and control poisoned everything, before I had to teach my daughter who I really was. We went together to the cemetery, me, Raquel, Brian, and the kids. Sophie and Max put flowers on Richard's grave daisies, his favorite. Hi, Grandpa, Sophie said softly. I hope heaven has good books. Grandma says you loved books. And coffee, Max added. And Mom's cookies. Raquel knelt by the headstone. Hi, Dad. I'm sorry I haven't visited much. I was busy being an idiot. She laughed through tears. But I'm better now. Mom helped me see what matters, just like you always tried to. I knelt beside her, resting my hand on the cool granite. Richard, you'd be proud of her. She's doing the work. Growing. Changing. Becoming who she was meant to be. I paused. I miss you every day, but I'm okay. Really okay. The life we built it gave me the freedom to choose peace. Thank you for that. Raquel leaned against me. Thank you for not giving up on me, Mom. Never. Eleanor came over for coffee, our weekly tradition. So, she said, settling into her chair, you fixed it. What your relationship with Raquel, you fixed it. I don't know if fixed is the right word. We're rebuilding. Better this time. Because you forced her to see you. Because I stopped pretending to be small. I poured more coffee. For 5 years, I thought silence was kindness, that letting her believe what she wanted was generous, but really I was just avoiding conflict. And now I know that real love requires real honesty, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Eleanor raised her cup. To hard love. To hard love. We sat in comfortable silence watching the garden bloom tomatoes, ripening roses, climbing herbs, spreading green and fragrant. My phone buzzed. A text from Raquel. Dinner Sunday, my place, I'm making Dad's lasagna recipe. Well, attempting to. I smiled and typed back, I'll bring dessert. The real kind, not the diet kind. Perfect. Love you, Mom. Love you too, sweetheart. Eleanor watched me put down the phone. Happy yes, I said, and meant it. The doorbell rang at 4 p.m. Raquel stood on my porch holding a wrapped box. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Come in, it's freezing. She stepped inside, stomping snow off her boots. I wanted to give you this before tomorrow's chaos with the kids and everyone. I took the box. Light, small. Open it, she urged. Inside was a leather journal. Beautiful, expensive, with my initials embossed on the cover. I want you to write your story, Raquel said. Everything. The business with Dad. The choices you made. The life you built. All of it. She looked at me with clear, honest eyes. Because I realized I don't really know your story. I thought I did, but I only knew the parts I'd decided were true. I want to know the real version. In your own words. I held the journal against my chest. This is the best gift you've ever given me. Just the journal? No. The asking. The wanting to know. The seeing me as someone with a story worth telling. She hugged me tight. I see you, Mom. Finally. Really. I see you. I know you do. That night alone in my quiet house, I opened the journal. On the first page, I wrote, My name is Sylvia Jean Hartwell. I am 69 years old. I am worth $47 million. But that's not the most important thing about me. The most important thing is that I chose peace over performance, simple over status, meaning over more, and I raised a daughter who finally learned to ask instead of assume, to listen instead of control, to see instead of decide. That's worth more than any fortune. I set down my pen and looked around my small living room, the simple furniture, the plain walls, the ordinary life I'd chosen. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Attorney Bennett called on a Tuesday morning. Mrs. Hartwell, I wanted to update you on the foundation. The Richard Hartwell Foundation for Widowed Entrepreneurs has now helped 147 women start businesses or return to school. The success rate is remarkable. 85% are still operating after 2 years. That's wonderful. There's been a request for a particularly large grant. A woman in Arizona, recently widowed, wants to start a garden design business. She needs $50,000 for equipment and licensing. The board wanted your approval before proceeding. Approved. Send her my best wishes. Will do. And Mrs. Hartwell, your daughter has been attending board meetings. She's quite involved, asks good questions, really engages with the applicant's stories. I smiled. She's good at seeing people now. After we hung up, I walked out to my garden. At 72, I moved a little slower. But I still planted my tomatoes, still tended my roses. My phone rang. Raquel. Mom, guess what Sophie got into the summer science program? That's fantastic. She's so excited. Hey, can you come to dinner Friday? She wants to tell you all about it. I'll be there. Love you, Mom. Love you too. I hung up and looked at my garden, at my small house, at the life I'd built from the ruins of grief. Dignity, I understood now, isn't something you ask permission for. It's something you claim, something you guard, something you teach others to see in you by refusing to be smaller than you are. I'd spent 5 years being small, and one night being honest. The honest version lasted longer. The honest version changed everything.